That is James Mennie. He is over at the Montreal Gazette. So, Jim, I guess we ought to start by talking very quickly about the Léger poll. There's not a whole lot new in there, perhaps, except maybe the fact that Conservatives here in Quebec, Éric Duhem, not doing as well as perhaps most people thought they'd continue to do. And the fact that, and you said this before, the Parti Québécois, I mean, I'm not sure that they could basically survive through the next election as an actual party.
Well, you could almost say the same thing about the Quebec Liberal Party, the way things are going.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is, but I got to tell you guys, and I'm not blaming Jean-Marc Léger or Léger Marketing for the poll. They said they would do these once a month, but when you look at the numbers that are coming out today, you have to ask yourself: are we witnessing what could be a self-fulfilling prophecy? Which is to say, a lot of people who don't support the CAQ are going to look at these numbers and say, why do I even bother going out?
Totally.
Which could actually lead to an even larger CAQ victory. But this is the thing. We're seeing 4 opposition parties that, among themselves, they would have more popularity than the CAQ. The CAQ is polling at 44. But they are so divided ideologically that this is like the perfect political storm for François Legault. And I guess the question that we'll be asking on October 4th is it time for these parties to sit down and sort of try and hammer together some kind of an entente or whatever to basically focus? Stop pretending you're separate entities. You're never going to be a government. You're hardly effective as opposition parties. Is it time that you pooled your resources, certainly pooled your policies, and turned around and decided to create a real opposition to the coalition, which is what Quebecers say they want? Although this poll doesn't suggest that at all. I mean, listen, I've expressed my concerns, not with the accuracy of the Léger polls, but the fact that they're being produced by online panels on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
It's possible, the sonar ping is relatively accurate, but it's also possible there's a bit of skew there. Not that I'm saying, and the way this sort of unofficial campaign has been going, that the CAQ is going to pound everyone into the ground like a tent peg, given the campaigns they've been running thus far. But it's intriguing as well to see that Éric Duhem, who was campaigning on disaffection with the government's pandemic policies and that sort of overall kind of I'm angry and I won't take it anymore, that he has stalled. That might be perhaps a message to other people who are thinking of placing their vote with a protest party. It seems that, it may work, it may make you feel good in the short term. Down the road, it may not help you out at all. But as I've said before as well, specifically for Anglophone Quebecers, at this point, it doesn't matter who you vote for. And quite frankly, you've got nothing left to lose.
I just want to allude to the 3 points at the end of this. We talked about this earlier on, right? Because they add in the poll, here are the 3 things that could conceivably make a difference or change some people's mind. Obviously, inflation, which we talked about, Jim, yesterday as a main issue and becoming a bigger one all the time. That's one. If we go into a lockdown again at some point, right? Mm-hmm. Kids are going back to school. We have all these outdoor events. That's a possibility, although Natasha seems to believe there's not a chance that could happen even if we were back and things got worse, right?
2 days after the election.
I absolutely agree.
Okay.
There is absolutely no way this government, there's absolutely no way the Legault government will move 1 milligram back towards what we went through over the past 2 years before this election.
Not a chance.
Okay. And then number 3, and I'm not so sure there's much credibility in this, the idea that it'll make a difference who the next leader of the federal Conservatives is, i.e. Jean Charest, Pierre Poilievre. How does that make a difference anywhere?
Well, I think to a certain extent they're looking at if Pierre Poilievre, but this is it. You kind of, on a lot of stuff, it's kind of confusing to figure out what wavelength he's on, because, he says, he's for rights, he's for freedoms, and maybe, by the time that if he is leading the party, maybe he will get shut out in Quebec, and Quebec will just be foreign territory for him anyway. But I think there are a lot of people in Quebec, and we had an echo of that actually in the Conservative caucus this week, who say that if Pierre Poilievre becomes leader of the Conservatives and indeed has the possibility of being prime minister, then there's absolutely no way that, La Nation...
I organized a flash mob outside of Victoria's Secret.
He's
the
antithesis of basically what, Quebecers expect from their politicians.
Okay, sorry for that. I don't know what happened. My computer just started playing on its own.
What was that about Victoria's
I have
secret?
no idea.
I don't want to know.
Yeah, nor do
That's
I.
probably for the
The
best.
jury
I
will
was.
disregard what it just heard.
It happens. Audio just comes up.
Yeah,
But I
it's
was
a
going to
YouTube
say, with Eric Duhem, we had talked about the fact that he had momentum, right? And that he might peak too early. Is that what happened here? His momentum?
I think so. I
Yeah.
think after a while, God, I hate to say it, but it's politics and the certainly the election campaign process is now completely different from what it was even 5 years ago. And all that to tell you, and I've said it for a lot of other things, but I'll set it here as well. People do not have memories that extend past the next web page they're on. So they have a short attention span.
Yeah.
So
true,
on the one hand, Eric Duhem, oh, look, he's different. He's a shiny thing. Oh, he's against this. Oh, I like the way he speaks. But in the end, life goes on. It's summer. Then all of a sudden, people aren't talking about Aaron James or the pandemic. They're talking about inflation. They are talking about healthcare. And this is the other thing that confuses me, guys, is that on the one hand, we've got Léger having, with the CAC getting these Olympian numbers. They'll probably have a bigger majority this time around than it did in 2018. And yet, what, was it a week ago? We were talking about Angus Reid. More than 70% of Quebecers, and it was a pretty fair sampling, are absolutely unhappy with the way this government has dealt with health care, senior care, inflation, a housing shortage. So that's why I get a little confused. And with once again, all due respect to Mr. Léger, I'm not suggesting anything is cush here, but there may be some deformation, perhaps, in what is actually going on out there. We may get some surprises on election night. Not big ones. I still think I wouldn't bet against the CAC majority, but is it going to be a 44% majority? I'm not entirely sure.
Right.
What I
Okay.
am sure of is when we wake up the morning after the election, the two political parties which have dominated politics in this province for half a century will, relatively speaking, have been reduced to political footnotes.
Wow. All right, let's talk about one other thing real quick. We only have a little bit of time here, Jim. What's the CPC schism you're referring to in your headline? Who are we talking about here?
Well, it's already started. I listened to the interview you guys did with Monsieur Charret yesterday, and I'd recommend people listen to it because it's very interesting. When you asked him, forming another party, as far as he is concerned, that isn't on the table. But we already have one particular conservative MP by the name of Joël Gaudin, who was elected. He's been with the party since 2015. Who says basically if Poilievre gets in, he'll either sit as an independent, join another party, form his own party, or resign. And we also hear from a conservative senator who basically said, Jean-Guy Dagenet, who's basically saying if Poilievre gets in, I'm basically tearing up my party membership card. These are the guys who are right now saying things out loud. But I can absolutely assure you that there is a growing sense of uncertainty in the Quebec wing of the caucus, and I would suspect as well in Ontario, and for all I know, perhaps even out west, that a lot of the off-the-wall statements that Pierre Poilievre has made, and he's been allowed to get away with, largely in the media coverage that's been going on, I think is scaring the pellets out of a lot of card-carrying Tories. I'm not saying he's going to lose, and I'm not saying that Jean Charest is necessarily a lead pipe cinch to win. But if Charest doesn't win, if it is Poilievre, if Jean Charest basically says, I've done my due diligence, I tried, I am now walking away for the private sector, trust me, this stuff is going to break open, and it's going to break open wide, and you are going to see a very, very different incarnation of what even now we perceive as the Conservative Party, and what could well indeed turn into a new federal party with conservative ideals and a bit less of the conspiracy theory angle that we're seeing more and more of in the present.
Yeah, I love the way you lay it out because, of course, then Jean Charest could simply say, well, it wasn't my idea. I wasn't thinking about it, but these people within the party, look what they're doing, and they're asking me and get involved that way, which doesn't make it seem like it was his idea.
I got the impression when you guys were talking to him
that
this is my shot.
Yeah.
And honestly,
he said,
I got better things to do with my time than
I don't know.
Yeah, he said it's a 10-year endeavor, and I'm not on board for that.
Well, I don't know about 10 years. I figure, though, for Jean Charest, I think, in terms of accumulating fame and fortune, he's done all that. I think the most important resource he looks at, as a lot of us do, is time. And does he want to spend it rebuilding a party from the ground.
I say I look at it, if it's in your blood to lead again, which is why he's back now and wants to get involved in politics, if it doesn't fly here and there's enough people saying, hey, we believe in you, we want you to run because this guy's crazy, maybe he considers getting involved. But we'll all wait and see.
Isn't that how he ended up becoming a Liberal?
Aaron, warm up the T-shirt machine.
All right.